He covers the NBA for Bleacher Report. We welcome Sean Highkin onto the Hoopsology podcast. How's it going, Sean?
Doing all right, Justin. How about you?
Doing pretty well. It's been a very eventful week, and I originally wanted your thoughts on just the events of this past week relating to the NBA. But today it's been really a big day recording this podcast on a Saturday regarding the NBA and COVID. So I just wanted your insight regarding how the league has handled the pandemic. And if you don't mind, I want to read a tweet that you had just earlier today because I thought it was very poignant, and I just wanted to expand on it. You said the NBA is going to keep playing games like there is nothing wrong, which is their prerogative, but this should end the Adam Silver is the sports commissioner that did it the right way and was a model for others idea. Could you elaborate on that? Because Adam Silver has been praised for how he's handled the pandemic with the bubble and now going out of it. What do you think has gone wrong so far?
Well, the thing about the tweet, kind of what I was getting at there is, I mean, Adam deserves a lot of the praise that he got for the bubble in terms of the way they were able to pull it off. That, with no positive test, they played the season and, it went about as well as it could have. But they kind of just lucked into the idea that they, the fact that one of their corporate partners in Disney just happened to have this campus that was exactly perfect for what they were trying to pull off, and they were able to do it. But Adam really just kind of over the last, basically since then, and basically going back to really the beginning of the pandemic, remember they were the first league to shut down after the Rudy Gobert positive test, and then over the next couple of days, all the other sports leagues kind of followed suit. And, he was kind of getting all this, talk of this is the commissioner that's the leader of the COVID movement or of the how to bring sports back during COVID. And Adam really likes that reputation. He's really into the idea that, pushing this perception that that the NBA is the league that did it the right way. But then, and obviously, I understand that, like, they kind of have the same limitations as everybody else does in terms of trying to do a season during COVID and outside of a bubble. And there was never really realistic they were going to be able to do it in another bubble, even though that would have made the most sense from a safety standpoint, just because, like, you can get the players and the team staff and the owners on board with doing a bubble for 3 months to finish out a season that had mostly been played. But if you're asking players to sign up for being away from their families and their kids for 7 or 8 or 9 months in some cases to finish to do a whole season, that's just not realistic. And so basically what the NBA's, bubble stuff so far, I mean, they do have more protocols in place. Like, they have that huge manual of, rules for who can be around what. But it does seem like they're really doing it kind of the same way that the NFL and Major League Baseball did, which is kind of what I was getting at with the tweet, where it's like, oh, well, there was a positive test during a game like with Seth Curry. Well, we'll just only quarantine some of the team, and then we'll play the game the next, 2 days later, and then the Sixers are trying to get them to postpone, so they're going to make up injuries for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, but they're still going to make them play with 7 healthy players. And, like, the whole thing is just, and I understand that, like, they have to make this money back, and they have to get this season played so that they can start next season on the normal calendar to start in October, because I don't think they want to be starting on Christmas going forward like they did this year, that, just because I don't think they want to play into the summer just because of how bad the TV ratings were. But it's kind of poking some holes into this idea that the NBA is like this virtuous league they're the only sports league that's really handling COVID right, and they're the ones that are setting the example, because so far it seems like this season outside of a bubble is basically just going the same way that the baseball and football seasons have.
Well, you bring up a good point with the Seth Curry situation with the Wizards before, right? What about them? I mean, they were exposed to him the day before, and nothing was done with that team. And it just seems like they're kind of, with all these protocols in place, you would think they have a better battleground moving forward, but it seems like they're kind of figuring out as we go along, which is extremely scary. I want to ask you, what do you think is the worst possible scenario? Do you see the NBA, just no matter what, just trying to get this season done despite the number of COVID cases, or do you think the league would shut down again possibly?
Well, the worst case scenario is a player dies.
Sure, exactly.
That's in play. I don't know if you've read my buddy Jason Quick, who covers the Blazers for The Athletic, I'm based in Portland, so I'm kind of around the Blazers a lot. And Jason Quick, who's the Blazers beat writer for The Athletic, had a story about a week ago with Nasir Little, who, second year player on the Blazers. He got COVID during training camp, and he talked to Jason about kind of a lot of the stuff he went through, and he really went through it. Like, it wasn't just, he got COVID and he was a little bit sick for a week and then he was fine. He really went through it bad, and it just kind of reinforced the fact that even though, these NBA players are all in their 20s and they're in world-class shape, it could still hit them bad. And so it's not outside of the realm of possibility that a player dies from it, which I don't want to get too morbid, but that's in play. That's within the realm of possibility. But that's the worst case scenario. I think if there's like multiple teams that at the same time all have this huge outbreak and aren't able to field enough healthy players, like if what happened with the Rockets on opening night when they weren't able to play the game against Oklahoma City because they didn't have enough healthy players. If that happened to like 5 or 6 teams where basically a third of the league or more had to postpone a bunch of their games for like a week or two, I think that might be enough for the NBA to at least postpone it. I don't think they're going to completely pull the plug on it, because I think they realize, even if it's a situation like it was back in March where they shut it down for 4 months and then decided to come back and do the rest of the season in a bubble because the alternative is not finishing the season and defaulting on the TV deals, I think one way or another they're going to get through the season. But we're seeing now that it's not going to be easy, and I don't know how it's going to work out. I've kind of gotten past the point of feeling like it's really my place to say what I think they should or shouldn't do. And this was kind of my stance in the bubble, or like leading up to the bubble as well. I was just like, well, whether I think they should do it or not doesn't mean they're going to do it or not. I don't have any say in the matter. So I'm just going to deal with whatever they decide to do. And that's kind of still where I'm at. I don't feel great about any of it, though.
Yeah, me either. It's a very uneasy situation, and especially because we don't know the long-term risk of COVID as well. Even
Right.
for people that got COVID and they were fine in a week. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen to them from a year from now. So it's just an extremely just scary situation.
Well, you saw what happened with
Yeah,
that player at Florida State, where he had it
exactly.
over the summer and seemed
Yeah,
like he recovered, and then he got diagnosed with that heart condition months
exactly.
later. Like,
Yep.
you have no idea like how much of that is going to happen, down the line. It could be years from now we're starting to see there's these long-term effects from it that people just didn't know about. So I I can't blame anybody for deciding that they just think the NBA shouldn't play at all. I guess I'm just kind of at the point where I understand it. That's where they're at. That's what they're going to do, and I just have to hope that it works out okay.